Okay, good evening, everyone. You are highly welcome to today's Safeoclock Health and Safety Interactive Workshop. So I'm happy to see us again after 1 week. It's been a very long week. So glad that we are all here, hale and hearty, ready to learn and ready to converse about this topic today. So I don't know if somebody is joining us for the first time today. Safeoclock is a platform where we health and safety practitioners meet virtually every week to discuss a chosen topic for that week. So for this week, we are discussing hot work safety. So just like the custom has been, I will start with a brief presentation. I will lead the presentation, and every other person is also authorized to lead presentation. So if you prepare the presentation, you just let me know. You can also present. So it's not only me. So I'll just start with brief presentation, introducing the topic, then we go into the discussion proper. So in this, my brief presentation, I'll be talking about, I will define hot work. I will talk about the importance of safety during hot work. I will also talk about hazards associated with hot work. Then we'll discuss safety measures and precautions that should be taken during hot work. So that is the summary of what I will discuss in just a few minutes from now. Okay, so hot work refers to any activity or process that generates source of ignition, which could be either flame or heat or sparks. So the most important thing is that there is a generation of source of ignition. So that is basically what we refer to as hot work. So activities such as welding, cutting, grinding, brazing, welding activities. So these activities all generate sparks, and they are source of ignitions. So we categorize all of them as hot work. So if the sparks or flames are generated during the activity, there is need to properly analyze the situation and ensure that proper safety measures are in place to prevent what could go wrong, especially fire outbreak. So that is the major bone of contention today. So why is it important to ensure safety during hot work operation? The first one is that there are different hazards associated with hot work operations. So it's very important to ensure safety procedures in the way hot work activity is being carried out. One is to prevent fire and explosion. We know that hot work is the major source of fire in construction industry. So preventing fire and explosions, then there must be adequate safety prevention, safety procedures in place to ensure that that hot work operation or activity does not lead to fire outbreak and explosion. So the next one is to ensure safe work environment. If there is no safety procedure while hot work activity is going on, then the environment is as good as unsafe, which means there's some environmental factors or the safety of the workers is not guaranteed because there's no proper safety precautions in place during hot work activity. The other important reason is to comply with legal regulations. So there are certain community or local laws that has been stipulated regarding hot work operations. So ensuring that safety measures are in place will help the organization or will help the employer comply with legal regulations. The other important reason is to protect the workers. Of course, we know that hot work operation is very hazardous, okay? And it means that something can easily go wrong. So if we don't take it serious and if we don't provide safety measures to prevent any incident or any injury to the workers, then we are not protecting them. So putting these measures in place will help to protect the workers who are carrying out that activity. Another reason or another important reason why safety should be in place during hot work operation is to ensure there is adequate emergency preparedness, that whatever, in case something goes wrong, in case there is an emergency, the plan, the procedures of how the actions to take in that emergency should all be aligned to that operation. So if safety is not considered, then we are not thinking about emergency and what should be done during that emergency. So the other point we are going to discuss are some of the hazards associated with hot work. So the first one, we've talked about fire and explosions. So because there is ignition source and the hot work is generating sources of ignition or sources of flames, so there's high risk of fire and explosion. So that is one of the hazards associated with hot work operations. The other one is personal injury. Of course, we know that if something goes wrong, or maybe during the operation, somebody can easily get injured. So personal injury as other type of hazard that we identified during these hot work operations, like skin or eye burn, overexposure to welding flames, injuries to the eyes, injuries to the physical body. So these are all some of the personal injuries that could occur during hot work operations. So the other hazards or potential hazards during hot work include heat stress. Of course, we know that hot work, the person or the worker carrying out hot work is exposed to extreme temperature, is exposed to increased temperature and heat. So he has the tendency of falling into heat stress or heat-related illness. Okay, then chemical release. During hot work, there are so many, some types of chemicals or some types of compounds that will be released into the environment. And this will also have an impact either on the worker or the environment also. So this is another hazard identified in these hot work operations. The other hazard includes toxic fumes. So you know that like during welding, there will be fumes generated from this operation. So this is another hazard. Electric shock. Some of the, or most of the tools used in hot work are electrical power tools. So these are also another hazard associated with hot work. The worker could be electrocuted or could be in contact with electricity. Noise. During hot work operations, some of the tools used like angle grinder, cutting, those type of tools generate noise. So noise hazard is another type of hazard that could be associated with hot work. UV radiations, like during welding, arc welding, you see that there will be, the worker is exposed to UV radiations. Flying debris. You see, during cutting, during welding, there could be debris flying here and there, which, if no proper protection, could get into the eyes or could get injured a worker. So these are some of the hazards associated with these hot work activities. When, if compressed gases are used, so compressed gas also becomes another interesting hazard that, if not properly handled, can lead to serious injury. So these are some of the hazards associated with hot work operation. Now let's discuss briefly the safety measures and precautions that should be in place during hot work. The first one is training. So we should only allow trained and competent people to carry out hot work, because there are certain hazards associated with hot work. And if anything goes wrong, not just the worker will be affected, fire outbreak could damage properties, damage the entire construction site. So the person carrying out that activity should be properly trained, should be adequately trained, knows what he's doing, knows the hazards present, and knows the emergency procedures in place. There should be proper welfare facilities provided for the workers to ensure that they work in a very hygiene environment and ensure that they are taking care of themselves, like drinking water should be provided, and this will help to relieve the hazard of heat stress. Okay, equipment inspection. So the equipment, the power tools, and all the equipment involved in the hot work should be properly inspected by a competent person and ensure that they're in good condition before they are allowed to be used for that activity. So this will help also to keep that activity safe. Another one is fire watch. A competent, trained fire watch should be designated to that to every particular hot work activity. This will help to ensure that somebody is looking out for ignition sources, is looking out for combustible materials, and whatever could go wrong that will lead to fire outbreak. So fire watch should be dedicated during hot work. There should also be hot work permit. So hot work permit, like we know, is a system of controlling the activities. So the hot work permit will authorize the worker so that only authorized activities are going on, and the safety team or the management are aware of every hot work operation going on. So hot work permit could help to be to control the hazards associated with hot work. Another precautions can be shielding. During welding, shading, fire blankets, this could help to protect the worker and reduce the UV radiation that will be exposed to, and also reduce exposure to fire and burns. Isolation. So the hot work location should be properly isolated, properly protected, and unauthorized people should not be allowed access to the hot work location, so that only the people who are authorized, who are trained, and who understands the level of risk associated with that activity should be allowed within that location. Risk assessment is another important safety precaution that should be in place. So every hot work activity, just like other activities, should be properly assessed of the risk associated with them, and this risk assessment communicated to everybody carrying out that operation. Ventilation, there should be proper ventilation, either forced or general ventilation, in place during hot work operations to reduce accumulation of fumes and to also ensure that the air quality in that location is adequate. Flammable gas testing. So to ensure that there is no accumulation of gas, or to ensure that gases that are not good in human consumption are not present in that hot work location, or flammable gases, to ensure that they are not present in the hot work location, there should be continuous gas testing in that location. Proper personal protective equipment should be used by the workers carrying out the activity. No smoking. Of course, we know that hot work is already an ignition source being generated. So smoking again could also increase the risk of fire outbreak and explosion during that hot work operation, especially if gas cylinders are in use for that activity. So in rounding off, let's look at some of the responsibilities of a fire watch during the hot work operation, because one of the major hazards associated with hot work is fire outbreak and explosion. And having a trained and competent fire watch goes a very long way to prevent any fire outbreak. So the first responsibility that the fire watch carries out is to prevent fire. Preventing fire is to ensure that the location is safe, there is no combustible materials in place, and to ensure that all the tools and equipment required are as safe and proper are inspected. So management of equipment, the fire watch will help to put equipment in order to ensure that there is no trip hazards generated, and to ensure that all the required equipment are available, like fire extinguishers, and they are readily available and are in good working condition. So another responsibility of the fire watch is incident reporting. So in case something goes wrong, or in case there's an incident, even near miss, the fire watch should report this properly as the incident reporting procedure of that organization. So the other one is continuous monitoring. Fire watch should be available to continuously monitor the hot work activity and to observe and detect any form of a fire outbreak, especially when it's still at the ambient stage. So the fire watch also should be responsible to stop the activity when something is not right, especially when fire is starting, or when the procedures, the permit to work procedure is not being complied with. So the fire watch should also stop the work and to ensure that the job is returned to normal condition. So the fire watch should also maintain clear access and view from the work location. So he should be at immediate location of that hot work activity, so that he will be able to observe and identify hazards as they are being generated or as they are being originated. So communication as well. The fire watch should adequately communicate with the team doing the activity, the supervisors, the permit issuer, permit holder. So this type of communication will help the team understand what is going on at the location. A fire watch can also train others on emergency procedures, train them on fire prevention. It can also give them detailed information about the activity. Now, the last but not the least is post-hot work inspection. So fire watch should inspect the work location after the hot work has been completed. So this, in some procedures and in some companies, is required that the fire watch will stay 30 minutes extra after the work. Some organizations, their permit procedure will say 1 hour extra after the hot work has been completed. So this is to ensure that he is able to monitor the work location and is able to identify or detect fire outbreak until after the job has been completed. So this is a summary of what fire watch should be doing during hot work operation. So this is just an introduction to the topic, and I'm sure that we have other experience and other points to add to this discussion. So thank you very much for your time.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, all.
Good evening. Who is speaking?
Yeah, my name is Henry, aka Alhenzi.
Okay, Mr. Henry.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry I've not been active for a few weeks now. It's not because I don't want to join, it's because of the work, you know. People call me night man. My work is mostly at night. And sometimes, when the session is going on, I'm driving also. So, it's not good to be driving and also be paying attention to the section. And when you get to the site, you have to be active also. So that is, that why most of the time I'm not active with and also I must give you, Mr. Johnson, I don't know how you do it every week, but man, I don't know. may God keep giving you the strength and the wisdom to be carrying on the section every week. I don't know how you do it because I know you work also. You're not staying at home. I know you work, but may God continue to give you the strength, to do it. Even if I know everybody's not participating every week. Also with other, section, with other members who are participating every week, I must give you the credit also. So I must appreciate you guys, doing it every week without some of us who are not always on the section every week. So please, I'm very sorry I've not been active for some time.
Yeah,
I'm really sorry.
we really understand everybody's operations and activities are not the same. So whenever you are free, I'm sure you will join. You're welcome.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Okay. Amajude, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Johnson, I really appreciate your thoroughness. The way you treated the topic. You are really, really detailed and really appreciate. I just want to talk about some few things in hot work. Hot work is something that is very, very critical in terms of HSE. In offshore structures, you don't do hot work without putting all those things you just said in place, because all offshore structures, they're restricted. So you are not even allowed to carry phones to offshore locations because of the risk of ignition of combustible vapors and gases, as the case may be. So I really want to touch on the fact that fire wash is not supposed to be involved in any other thing apart from monitoring hot work during hot work activities, because I will find out over time that some welders, fitters, they will say, this fire wash, you're not even the working, you're not doing anything. Why not help us carry this? Why not help us carry that? Carry a heavy object from one place to the other? That is not allowed. Regulations do not allow that, but in some of these organizations, they still allow it. But that doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. So, and apart from that, strict adherence to the hot work permit is what we comply with during hot work activities. The monitoring for combustible gases and vapors during hot work is very, very critical too. And you should also always respect alarm during hot work, mostly in places that you have combustible flammable gases present. The hot work in confined spaces is very critical also. In confined spaces, you don't permit hot work without allowing for ventilation. Then the fire wash will have to function as a safety wash during hot work. Now it has much responsibilities now during hot work. Then it's also critical that a person that is doing the hot work is being checked on every now and then. The welders in the confined spaces, the person that is assisting him, the fitter, as the case may be, these people, they are being monitored. And the alarm set point is very critical in these activities too, because you discover you can program a gas detector to tell when a person is not moving at all. You set it on motion alert. So in such a case, if a person is not moving at all, there should be a preparedness plan in place to evacuate the occupants of that hot work, of that confined space, so that we'll not register any incidents as the case may be. So those are the few contributions I've got to make. Thank you very much for your presentation, sir.
Thank you very much, brother, for that wonderful contribution. You have made lots of valid and interesting points. So We thank you, and we are happy to learn one or two from you. Thank you very much. All right, the floor is open. Let's get more contributions.
Hello, good evening again. This is Henry.
Good evening,
My
Mr.
own experience with hot work is, I work on the road, and most of the training has been done. I think the workers, they know what to do. The permit most of the time are there. Most of the time, not all the time. The challenge we normally have is, the generator set don't have deep tray, and also the fire extinguisher is not there. The face shield is not there. Sometimes, and when you ask why it's not there, sometimes they say they forget, sometimes they don't have in the store. And when you want to insist that you have to have all these things before you start the hot work, the management will be on your neck. Why did you stop the work? Why did you do this? Why did you Qatar now, as I'm in Qatar. So for some of us who are outside Qatar is not like before. So the management is on another level. When you stop work or when you take some decision, they will summon you for question for this or that. So that is my experience so far. So some of the things which the management ought to do, they're not doing it. So they're just allowing the work to go just that way without implementing full safety procedure on it. So that is my contribution on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Emma. Majid, I think you want to say something. Go ahead. I will add something to what Emma said. Well, go ahead, Majid.
Okay, yes, I just wanted to contribute one or two things, and this is also very important. During when there's a fire, mostly when the fire is in the incipient stage, it is good that workers have been taught how to normally use the fire extinguishers. Very important, because now you can quench fire at its incipient stage, and anybody can do it using the PASS, pull, aim, spread, and squeeze. It's very important that every worker has been taught on this. And also, knowing the kind of fire we have to use is also very important too. Kind of fire that is burning determines what kind of fire extinguisher you use to quench the fire. We have CO2 fire extinguishers, we have DCP. Most of the time in work sites, what we recommend is DCP, irrespective of whether it's electric fires, class C fires, or whatever is burning, because it's very compliant to all the kind of fire that burns. So every site, it's recommended that they should have the DCP. Then also the hose reel. It's also important that all sites have that in case fires have gone past the normal stage, the incipient ambient stage that is supposed to get to. And also, it's also important that we stress on how management should come in, because now management should be training. It's not just management should be involved in training workers and retraining to bring workers to what they ought to know in terms of fires. That if there is need for you to send most of the workers that are involved in hot work for firewash training, even if they are not performing firewash activities on site, it is also very useful too, because they will come to a grasp of what fires really are, and they will come to appreciate the knowledge and be able to put in this knowledge when there's any emergency that they themselves can contain. And it's also advisable that you tell your workers not to fight fire if they are not trained to do that, because that might be an hazard to them too. Because you can't just say because there's fire, then you start taking fire. You ought to be trained to do it first. In fact, in Chevron facilities and shared locations that we go to, you are not allowed to fight fire. If it happens that you fought a fire and you are not trained to do it, there's a question mark, because that might prone you to hazards, because you might not be able to contain the fire. And if the fire has passed its incipient stage, now you have to notify operations to come and fight the fire. The fire brigades are there to contain such large fires. Those are the few questions I have, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mojide, for throwing more light on that. Yeah, before I will talk about what Charles asked, let me add a few things to what Mr. Henry raised. So it's really an issue that has been going on for a very long time now, that people take a hot work for granted. Some of them even start hot work before requesting for permit. So these are issues that we observe sometimes in the workplace. Unlike the oil and gas sector that Omojide talked about, construction industry over here is not so strict and so compliant with these regulations, but it is our job as health and safety professionals to do our best to enlighten them, especially from the management level and the supervisors level, to enlighten them to understand the reason why they should take safety precautions during hot work, so that we will not allow, don't learn from the incident. We don't allow incident to happen before we learn. So it's our job to do that. Even though they are not complying, we have to keep pushing and ensure that you put documentations in place. Conduct toolbox talks, conduct trainings, conduct inspections, make your recommendations. Ensure that you document this process, so that in case anything goes wrong, you'll be able to have some evidence to back yourself up. So while you are doing your job, don't just give them directives verbally without documenting the process. Because when something happens, they will all of them will direct their pointing finger to the HSC, whereas they have not done their part. So document the process and ensure that whoever you are communicating with is agreeing to the process. Okay, so Mr. Charles asked us to throw more light about shading. So I will talk a bit about it, and I will also ask others to contribute and to talk more about shading. So shading, in a nutshell, is the process of protecting the worker carrying out the hot work, or the general people in that vicinity, protecting them or keeping them away from those sources of ignition. That is majorly what is shading. So in some locations, there's fire-rated materials that they use for shading. Some locations use non-combustible materials like metallic objects to build walls around the temporary hot work location. But if the hot work location is permanent, then the entire walls or the entire area is constructed with non-combustible materials or fire-rated materials. So this will protect the people doing the job from having a direct contact with maybe the fumes. So there's another form of shade that you are protecting the worker from the fire itself. So you see the face shield There's also some guard shields that can protect the worker from having contact with that ignition source or the flame. Then the other second shielding is the one that will protect the other people in the workplace from coming in contact with the hot work activity. So that is what I need to talk about that. So someone else can also throw more light on shielding as requested by Mr. Charles. David is here today. David, Indonesia, you are silent in the house. It's unusual of you. Okay, guys, any other further contribution? If not, we will call it a day. Amojide, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yes, I just want to talk a little bit about the shielding that some people do, which is wrong. You know, sometimes you find out that you are doing hot work in a location, there happens to be a leakage in one of the pipes. Then you take a fine blanket to cover the place. That is a wrong form of shielding. What you do in that kind of case, if there's a leakage in one of the flanges or pipes, as the case may be, what has to be done is repairs work have to be done on that pipe first. That is not a right way to shield. And you find the wet the fire blanket, feeling that that will help to contain any flame or whatever. No, it's not done. That's a wrong way of shielding. When you are shielding, you are protecting people, you are protecting maybe any spatters from getting to pipe, not because you want to shield against combustible vapors or hydrocarbons that may be close by. So if there's combustible hydrocarbons, the shutdown maintenance team at least they should be able to shut that line or be able to reroute the gas or vapor that's coming from that place, or be able to make a fix on the pipe first before any hot work activities can take place around that hot work location. That's a few contributions I've got to contribute, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm liking this conversation. Henry and some others are from construction site, and you are giving us all about oil and gas side. So it's a well-balanced discussion this evening. So thank you for that wonderful contribution. Any other contribution before we call it a day? Mr. Kolawole, welcome. Nice to have you here. All right, so I think we've exhausted our contribution for the day. So we'll just call it a day instead of keeping all of us waiting. So thank you guys for joining. And next week, we are going to discuss another topic. So I wish to have all of us again next week. So thank you and do have a blessed night.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for your effort so far. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for joining.